Hello all and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to share with you the setup and installation of the Eufy doorbell camera as well as the Eufy 2 Pro 2K and compare it to my experience with the Ring doorbells and spotlight cams that I've been using for 3.5 years. Now I would say overall that I enjoyed my Ring cameras in the time that I had and used them, but there were a few things that really irked me about them. For one, of course, it's a paid subscription coming in at about $100 a year, which isn't a ton of money, but it's certainly not free, and free is my favorite price. Secondly, I'm not a huge fan of storing personal footage in anybody's cloud. I compromised on this for the Ring cameras given that they only show the exterior of my house, and I have no interior cameras, but I still didn't love it. Lastly, and truly the straw that broke the camel's back is the reality that I can only ever pull up a live stream about half the time from any of my Ring cameras. The amount of times that the app would just spin at a loading screen only to give me a streaming error notice is woefully frustrating. It got to the point where instead of clicking the notification that motion had been detected, I would just wait a couple of minutes to watch the motion video as it streamed from Ring servers. Now, facade of security aside, that is ridiculous. I can appreciate that that is to a degree caused by my Wi-Fi signal strength and Wi-Fi throughput, but I have gigabit internet and own a mesh network that consistently provides 200 megabits per second up and 200 megabits per second down. So I struggle to believe that's a considerable factor in my experience. I sprung for Eufy's doorbell and outdoor cameras because I replaced all the Wise cameras I had inside my house with Eufy's offering last year and have been very happy with their performance. I do not use local recording and I rarely leverage the app for these cameras as I have them all feeding into an NVR server via RTSP. Even though they're all connected via Wi-Fi, I have not yet found a single one of them to go down a single time in over a year of use. So before we get into the meat and potatoes, I'll split this video into two functional parts. We'll start with the doorbell camera now, but if you're more interested in the outdoor security camera comparison, skip to this timestamp. Now that out of the way, let's talk about what comes in the box with the Eufy 2K battery-powered doorbell camera. In the box, you'll find a mounting bracket, an angle bracket, the doorbell itself, a charging cable, screws, wires, as well as a magnetic pin tool to remove the camera from charging. This is nice because you can leave it on your fridge for safekeeping. Now, let's pause for a moment and compare this doorbell to the Ring by looking at the specs of each offering. So you can see reviewing the comparison that neither of them is better than the other in all aspects, so take everything I say with a grain of salt when figuring out which one is best for you. Installation of this doorbell was a breeze, but be sure to charge it for at least 6 hours before installation and note that this doorbell requires the HomeBase shown at this timestamp. So a little cart before the horse going on here, but bear with me. Also note that the battery doorbell works with the local storage hub, while the non-battery Eufy offering does not. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but it is. Installation starts with removing the old Ring Doorbell Pro 2 I have installed. If you're replacing a Ring doorbell as well, be sure to remove it from your account before physically removing it from your home so it can be reset and ready for sale or reuse elsewhere. Also, conventional wisdom is to flip the breaker that provides power to your doorbell before attempting to replace it. Before physical installation, you must sync this doorbell with the HomeBase, and this must be done while they're both within a couple feet of each other, as the HomeBase will make a sequence of noises that will be picked up by the doorbell for the sync to complete. Once that's done, head to your front door to begin the installation. Now, if your house is like mine and many others, you'll find two exposed wires underneath your current doorbell. These are all it takes to hook up your new Eufy doorbell. Start by lining up the mounting bracket before drilling and securing it into place. You may also want to seal around these screw holes, but my porch is covered so I'm not so worried about that. Next, you'll connect the two wires from your home by tightening them under the retaining screws on the back of the doorbell. It doesn't matter which wire goes to which screw as long as they're not touching when you install. After they're secured, snap the doorbell into place by seating the top inside the bracket before snapping the bottom in. After testing, my docs confirmed that the new doorbell is working. Here's a comparison of both audio and video between the Ring Pro 2 and the Eufy 2K doorbell. Ring camera audio video test from about 10 feet away. Eufy doorbell audio video test from about 10 feet away. It's really hard to determine which one is objectively better, but a couple of things that stood out to me were, firstly, the Eufy doorbell stream loads faster and more reliable than Ring's, while the Ring's audio was much easier to make out than Eufy's. Granted, I was much farther away than someone who might be ringing your doorbell, so keep that in mind. The last observation I'll share is that the Eufy cam seems to do a lot better with dynamic lighting situations. You'll notice that in the Ring's video, much of the bottom half of the video is dark, washed out, and it contains a ton of artifacts. Eufy's footage remained crisp and preserved a ton of detail. It's also worth noting that it was darker outside in the Eufy footage as I shot that later in the afternoon when the sun was farther behind my house. Overall, I'm enjoying my Eufy doorbell far more than the Ring doorbell I had for so many years. I don't love that I had to purchase the battery-powered model for it to function with the HomeBase, but I was pleasantly surprised to find that it also charges off the 24-volt doorbell lines I have on my home, so hopefully I never have to take it down to charge. If there's interest, I may publish a follow-up video after having used it for an extended period of time. Next, let's take a look at the Eufy Cam 2 Pro 2K security cameras. Inside the box you will find instructions, a base station, the 2 stick-up cameras, mounting hardware including screw-in brackets, magnetic brackets, power cables, and Ethernet cables. Comparing the Eufy offering to the Ring battery stick-up camera, the profile of the Eufy camera is starkly smaller, and this is without considering the added solar panel that I had installed alongside my Ring cameras. Looking at the HomeBase, there's not a lot to take in. There's power, Ethernet, USB for added storage, and a sync button. Let's start by getting the HomeBase set up and configured. The hub is simple to physically install, requiring only power and hardline Ethernet from your router. After hooking it up and giving it a few minutes to boot up, I attempted to add it to my Eufy account. Adding the hub took a few different tries, with it failing for no clear reason, but after the few attempts it was connected without issue and immediately ran a firmware update. Hopefully that patched whatever was causing my failure before. Note that this hub must be hardwired to your router for initial setup, but can be moved to Wi-Fi after setup is complete. With the hub set up, we can move to the security cameras. You'll want to start by charging them. The blue LED indicates that they're still charging, and you'll know they're done once that light turns off. While those are charging, I'll go ahead and remove my old Ring cameras. An operative comparison to note is that the range of motion for the Ring cameras was so limited when I installed them that I actually installed a complementary bracket to allow me to move them closer to where I wanted them facing. I later found that I did not have this issue with the Eufy cameras, as the magnetic mounting base offered loads of mounting flexibility. With the Ring cameras down, I began syncing the cameras to the hub. This was a simple affair, as you only have to initiate the addition via the app and hit the sync button on the camera once prompted. Again, note that you will want to sync the camera to the hub while they're within a foot or two of each other, as there's an audio exchange that must happen before sync is complete.
Press the sync button until you hear the beep. Ready to add device. device was added successfully.
To mount my cameras, I elected to use the magnetic mounts included. This offered a wealth of range flexibility while also requiring literally only one screw to securely mount the camera. I did have to add a washer to one of the mounts as my outer wall is stucco and the stucco was disallowing the magnetic mount to slide into its retaining chamber, but that was an easy fix. Once I had the magnetic mounts installed on the outside of my house, mounting the cameras was literally as simple as allowing them to snap to the mount and moving them to where I wanted the camera's focus to be. That's literally it as far as installation goes, and I'm immensely impressed at how easy these are to install while remaining dynamic in functionality. Before we compare the video footage between the Eufy Cam 2 Pro 2K and the Ring stick-up battery cam, let's compare the features. Again, neither of these cameras is the clear winner, so take some time to figure out which one is best for you. I will say that what originally drew me to the Ring cameras was the ability to install a solar panel and, ostensibly, never have to manually charge the batteries. I found that even after installing a secondary battery for each camera, I still had to charge them about 3 times per year. If Eufy's claims of 365-day battery life are true, I am more than elated with that. Now, I almost don't even want to share the comparison footage I have of each camera because of how starkly different they are. Not only is the Ring footage absolutely atrocious in quality, it cuts out many times throughout this very short clip. Note that this Ring footage isn't a screen recording of my phone. I initiated a motion detection event and later downloaded the footage from my signed-in Ring account on my computer. There's no chance you'd ever identify a person from that footage. While both cameras certainly have a degree of compression, the Eufy camera retains enough video data to identify the person in the frame and perhaps even a license plate. If you want a security camera to let you know when your Uber Eats has arrived, Ring can do that. If you want a security camera to help identify perpetrators, take a look at Eufy's offerings. Finally, as an added addendum, something I've always loved about the Eufy offerings is that I can quickly and easily enable RTSP on the devices to connect them to my local Blue Iris deployment and create linear recordings of everything that goes on inside and outside my house. It appears that I can do the same for the security cameras, though I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work because I don't believe they offer 24/7 recording. I suspect they'll only be sending motion events to my NVR, but I'll take it. At any rate, that's all I have for you today. Let me know if you have any questions down below, and I'll see you in the next one.